Chris Jericho shoots on the real heat with Triple H. Oh boy. Oh, this dirty dog, this fucking guy. Oh boy. Guess even Jericho had to get him straight.
One of the first big matches you had in WWF that were just, big featured and everything kind of went right was the Last Man Standing match with Triple H at Fully Loaded 2000. Can you talk about that match and how important that match was to you, kind of getting up the card in WWF and being seen as more than just, a mid-card comedy character or whatever? How important was that match?
Well, I mean, Triple H and I didn't get along back at that point in time. There was a lot of animosity for real because I had the audacity to come to WWE, and that people didn't like it. They didn't want WCW guys coming to WWE because they felt we were inferior. So you could do 10 things right, but if you did one thing wrong, you were under the microscope, and you were...
Yeah, I'm gonna cut in early. Yeah, I hate that. WCW has some talent up there, and they like it or not. And then they say, what did Triple H say? Oh, it's for the story, talking about that place was a joke. No, it wasn't. If you got your ass kicked for 80-something weeks, ain't no joke there. And yeah. And Jericho, which he beat Triple H, which that's good for him, but not only that, this man beat The Rock and Austin in the same night, and I still, to this day, have not seen that match. I don't even know what pay-per-view that was. If it's on DVD, it's probably rare, because, remember, they talked about that forever. Just like, when the streak got going, they talked about that for over a year. But yeah, I remember they talked about that for years. This man beat The Rock and Austin the same night. I don't know how the hell, I don't know what pay-per-view that was. But yeah. It had to be when he first came up there. Because he was something. But yeah, but what I was saying before, WCW wasn't garbage. What the hell?
In trouble, and those guys had pull, so they would bury you to Vince, and it was just politics, right? And I didn't really know much about politics at the time, but I learned very, very quickly. And I remember Triple H, when I first got there, said, if you ever need anything, give me a call.
And he's a better wrestler than Triple H.
Cool. And I remember we were in San Jose, and I was trying to find directions to Stockton or something like that, and I couldn't find one. I was like, I'll call Triple H. He seemed like a nice guy. He seemed like a cool guy, and he gave me his number. This will be the start of our friendship. We're going to get along. We're going to be friends. So I call him, and he's like, hello, who's this? It's Chris Jericho. Yeah? Hey, do you know how to get to Stockton? Yeah, you want to know how to get to Stockton? Yeah, buy a map. And I hear this laughter in the background of X-Pac and Road Dogs. And hangs up, and I'm like, well, there goes that friendship down the toilet.
See what I mean?
So that was kind of the initial, idea there. And so there was a lot of issues between the two of us. There was a problem that I had with China that was kind of predicated by him. And I almost got fired about a month in because Vince said, the problem is I got called into a meeting with Vince, Jim Ross, and Blackjack Lanza. And that's when Vince was like, the problem with you is you're the drizzling You're not worth the paper your contract is printed on. And I was like, you're green as grass. I'm like, man, jeez, lighten up, dude. So anyways, it was very, very, lots of heat, shall we say.
Oh, wasn't no
so
rookie
when
then?
I finally got the chance to work with Triple H, now if you remember prior to the Last Man Standing, I won the WWF title, WWF at the time, WWF title from Triple H on Raw for like 15 minutes. Which, if you watch that one back, it's in State College, Pennsylvania. The crowd loses their mind when I pin him. And that's where it's like... If Vince just would have gone with this...
Was that the one when when Triple H hollered to the referee and threw Earl Hebner on the ground or did something, and he got the belt back, and Hebner told him, I'm going to reverse it, but don't put your damn hands on me no more. I don't know if that's the same match or not, but I remember that one match. That dude was hollering and crying, boy. I'll never forget that. I was saying in the other video I made about folks loving this damn belt. When they lose the belt, I felt like their girlfriend broke their damn heart or something.
Could have built me into a big star at the level of all those other guys, and so everyone would have a different shade to paint with, right? But that's not the way. You have to earn respect and earn your way there in WWE. So whatever it was, so I had to give the belt back after 50 minutes. But I know that Vince saw the reaction, and Triple H did too. Doesn't matter if you like me or not. Business is business, and people like this kid. So they came to this pay-per-view. I believe it was called Fully Loaded, where there's going to be 3 of the young guys, up-and-coming guys, against 3 of the established guys. And I could be wrong on this. You guys probably know better than I do, but I believe the 3 matches were Kurt Angle versus The Undertaker, Chris Benoit versus The Rock, and Chris Jericho versus Triple H, last man standing. And
I think I
this
remember
was
the Kurt
kind of
Angle
our,
match.
our coming out party of getting a chance to really show what we could do. And Triple H was great in that match. We had a great match. I still remember Stephanie McMahon has the hardest slap in wrestling, and she slapped me in that match so hard. It's like one of those slap contests that you watch these 2 big guys and they slap each other in the face until someone falls down. I wanted to fall down. It was very stiff. And I remember too that the table that the finish was based around, there was a big sign in gorilla position that said, "Stay away from the Spanish announce table." Awesome. Stay away. The producers said it, the agent said it, everybody said it. There's a sign in the gorilla, "Stay away." And the match before us was China versus Perry Saturn. Guess what China did not do? She did not stay away. They hit this table and collapsed it. And something in my head says that maybe she might have done that on purpose because it was her ex-boyfriend that was in the next match, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, so that's our finish. And they do this right at the end, and we have like 5 minutes to come up with a new finish. It was supposed to be like a belly to back through that, something along those lines. And basically what we had to do was go to the dasher boards, which are those, like the black boards, like just basically little like fences, and do it off of that, which was really hard because it's, and Triple H and I are not the most agile of guys. And I remember like we're climbing on this thing, like, "You ready? You ready? I think so. Let's go." And we finally did the finish. So the finish, we land on the table, and both guys are out. Crowd is going bananas because they just know that Chris Jericho is going to get up right 1 second before Triple H does. And a last man standing, you count to 10. And whoever doesn't answer the 10 count loses. And everyone knew that I was going to answer the 10 count, except for he answered the 10 count, and I did not, and he won. And I still look back at that and go, why would you put over Triple H, the heel, who's already been world champion multiple times, instead of
This man can't get enough with a belt. Give Jericho a break.
The world title and got this reaction, and it still was another little dig where it's like, if it was me, I would say, dude,
that's what I said about this belt business, because you had it enough even back then. Shit. I remember the time we couldn't get the belt. Getting frustrated. Yeah, but cut Jericho a break now. So yeah, and I said it 5 or less than 5 minutes ago. Jericho is the better wrestler now. That's it. He said he wasn't that agile, but I don't know about that. This man can fly around. I don't know about. I don't see Triple H doing a moonsault. That's not gonna happen.
Over. I mean, I called Vince the first time I worked John Cena on a pay-per-view and said, "Vince, let me put him over." Why? Because I think he should go over. That guy doesn't have anything.
I forgot about that. That was when he was wearing the regular wrestling gear.
John Cena. He's got nothing that impresses me. I was like, just let me put him over. So I put him over, but that's what a veteran does for a younger guy. When the time is right, you don't do it every night. But in my opinion, that was a great night for me to go over, and I didn't. So it was a great match. It was my first great match I had in WWE, but I just feel it was the wrong finish because it's a last man standing. It's like losing a cage match. You really don't lose. Someone calls on the door, or someone goes over the top. No one's getting pinned here. And we both went down. I should have got up at 10. He falls down at 9. There's a new hero in the company. So, once again, I can't book it, but I look back and think it should have went that way. It didn't. But does it affect the quality of the match? Absolutely not, because it was a very, very, very great match for sure.
Speaking of you and Triple H. The following year, you guys have that tag match, the main events Raw. You and Chris Benoit against Steve Austin and Triple H, which was voted, I think, at one point.
I thought he was moving to something else, but yeah. Now that I remember. Did a video about that, or reaction about that. Was it a month ago now? That was a damn good match. It was, and like Chris said, you ain't able to see it because of the Benoit situation. But yeah, that was. I remember I had that on VHS or I think when I first got my first DVD player. I think I had that. Yeah, that was a good one. The hell?
Raw's greatest match. And that was a time where, they didn't, Rock was out, Rock was gone, they hadn't pushed anybody new or young, and you guys were put into this position. I mean, talk about the experience of doing that match.
Well, once again, Chris and I are always on the edge, on the verge
That's when Triple H tore his
the next level. But there's something about us that Vince didn't quite believe in at that point in time. Maybe it was the height, maybe it was, I don't know, I'm not sure what it was, but this is when they had turned Austin heel, which, as we look back in retrospect,
that didn't look
was
right.
kind of a bad idea.
Yeah, that didn't look right.
But then they put Austin and Triple H together.
Stupid.
And they were called the two-man power trip.
Yep,
they
that
became,
was bad.
I think, the world champion, the Intercontinental champion, and the tag team champion.
They had all the belts.
They had all the titles. I
remember
a week or two before that, I showed up in Oklahoma City, and I had a match against Triple H for the Intercontinental title. And there was this writer called Irish Pete. Why? Because he was from Ireland. How clever is that? And he had this chipped, like, Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber tooth. And I can't do an Irish accent, especially for you guys. It'll sound like an English accent. But he's like, I'm going to pretend because I have to say it. You get a match against Triple H for the Intercontinental title. And I was like, oh, wow. Who's winning? You are. Ah, just kidding. He's winning. I remember just looking at Irish Pete and just saying, I want to knock that stupid Jim Carrey tooth right out of your stupid Irish head, you dumb moron. Anyways, so it was kind of like they would win, and finally it's all coming to fruition where Benoit and Jericho are going to get the big victory. And believe me, it was a big victory to go over on Triple H at this point in time, and Steve Austin as well. I mean, you can't get any bigger than those guys, and not only bigger from a fan standpoint, but from a Vince McMahon standpoint. These are his guys. These are his money makers, right? So we go into the match, and it was in San Jose, and once again, I sound like, I caught a fish that was this big. If you watch this match back, the crowd is losing their minds. It was such a great time for wrestling because it had just started to get to the next level of action, but people hadn't seen everything like they have now, so they're kind of a little bit desensitized. This one, they bought into it. They were so excited and so into it. And the finish of the match was going to be that a bunch of different things happen. I end up hitting Austin with the lion salt. Triple H comes in with a sledgehammer. I move. He hits Austin with the sledgehammer. I take Triple H out. Benoit does a diving headbutt. 1, 2, 3. We win. And this is going to be our coronation.
Yeah, I believe Triple H turned again after that.
Well,
yeah, on Austin.
I have Steve Austin in the walls. Triple H comes in from behind to knock me down and take me out onto the floor. When he hits me, he was supposed to do something else too, and then suddenly he's gone. And when that happens, uh-oh, something's not right here. Because these are 4 pros amongst pros. You don't forget spots or you don't do stuff, you know what I mean? And I went onto the floor and he's just lying there like even screaming.
That's when he tore his thing.
Saying, like, I think I tore my quad. And I was like, what? I think I tore my quad. So I was supposed to give him the walls of Jericho on the announce table.
Ooh, I remember that.
Match, you know what I'm talking about.
Ooh, that had to be worse.
Him,
that made it worse.
What do you want to do? And he said, just keep going. And I said, do you want me to give you the walls? He said, yes. So I go up on the table. Once again, torn quad. What is the walls?
I give him a little credit for that because I don't know that shit hurt.
Your knees and your legs, right?
Woo!
And so I remember turning him over onto this table and just hearing this like real grunt of true pain, not selling. And just it's like the straightest walls of Jericho ever. I'm trying to hold his legs as straight as I can. Usually be locked right in. And once again, animosity or not, this is one of your teammates who's hurting. So I put it in there, and then I go inside and do what I'm going to do, and I hit Austin with the moonsault. I'm like, there is no way he's going to get in here with that sledgehammer. But somehow that came in with the sledgehammer. He did the spot, and Chris did the finish, and 1, 2, 3, and people are going crazy, and new tag team champions, Chris and Chris. And I remember,
wait a minute, he couldn't have turned because he was hurt.
Biggest fan, but this guy earned my eternal respect by just how tough he was to go
get that back.
Finish, and 1, 2, 3, and people are going crazy, and new tag team champions, Chris and Chris. And I remember, I am not Triple H's biggest fan, but this guy earned my eternal respect by just how tough he was to go through that. And I remember, right?
Yeah, he was a pain in the ass back then. But yeah, that had to hurt like hell. That was the longest 15 seconds of pain or whatever because the leg was already torn, and then on top of it, turning you into the Jericho or into the walls of Jericho. That made it worse. So that had boy, that had to be like torture.